I'm Patrick Bailey with whiteboardcoder.com. Today is March 16th, 2016, and in this video I'm going to be going over how to install Ubilinux on the Intel Edison using a SparkFun, Edison base block. Now in September I made a how-to video on this subject, but I got a little long. It went about 90 minutes. Now since then I've learned a few tricks in Cygwin, and so hopefully this video will be dramatically shorter than that video. Now, first of all, before I dive into this, why would you want to do this? The default OS on the Intel Edison is Yocto Linux. Now, I am not an embedded guy, so I haven't done it I've done a few things here and there, but it hasn't been my profession. Now, from my understanding of Yocto and the times I've touched it a little bit here and there, and I may be wrong, if I am, someone correct me. But the idea, well, usually the idea with embedded Linux is if you're a business, you're going to put out 1,000, 2,000 devices. And so what you do is you kind of get if you're going to use Linux, you kind of pare down as small as you can. Because usually in the embedded world, you don't only have so much resources. And so you kind of get down to bare minimum. And I believe Yocto helps you do that. So you only get the libraries you want. You figure out exactly what you want. And you kind of make your build. And then you put your build on all the devices you want. Now, that's fine and dandy, but if you're going to be fiddling around a lot, or you're like me, you're from the Linux world, I'm an Ubuntu guy, I don't want to build, especially when you're fiddling, I don't know what I want yet. So I don't want to go, oh, you know what, I need this library and this library, let me do a whole nother build and send it out there. No, I want to use apt-get and pull down the libraries I want. I want to have the Linux environment I'm kind of used to, and I'm going to be fiddling with stuff, so I don't know what I need, and I might tweak it here and there, and I may even deploy something out in the field, or in my house in this case, and then 3 months later go, you know what, I really want it to do this other thing. And I don't want to flash it, I just want to grab the libraries. So that's part of the reason. That's one of the reasons why it's probably a good idea for people who have those needs to install Ubilinux. Now another thing, off the subject of Ubilinux for a minute, in my last video I was using this. And this is a great idea for the Intel Edison. They kind of had this Arduino kit. So you could put the Edison on here and use this. Really, it's kind of a breakout shield for Arduino, but it was kind of faking the Arduino. And that's well, and it met some needs, and I think it cut things out quickly. I don't know the whole history behind it. But I think in the long run, if you're going to be fiddling with Edison, I don't think this is the way to go. Because Edison is different. All the pieces, parts, it's not Arduino. And so I don't think it's a good idea to dive in too far into this and just be faking Arduino. I think what you need to be doing is doing Edison and using their breakouts. So that's why I like the SparkFun stuff. And by no means I'm not an expert in this. I'm still fiddling with it myself. But using this and using some of their breakout boards, I want to no longer be faking Arduino. So that's another thing. That's another reason why I'm doing the SparkFun stuff in this video versus this Intel Arduino board. It's not really an Arduino board, but it's, faking it. It was part of their kit that they had. And it worked for a while, and it was nice, but I think long-term is the way to go. Anyway, so that's enough of that. Okay, I'm going to be using Cygwin to install and flash my drive. Now, the first thing you need to do is, if you don't have a Cygwin, and I'm on a Windows machine here, is you need to actually download Cygwin. So you can go to cygwin.com, and you can scroll down here a little bit, and there should be a setup x86_64. Assuming you're on a 64-bit machine, and if you're not, that's very weird. Everything's pretty much 64-bit nowadays. So you can click on that to download it, and it should start downloading. It should be fairly quick. And then once it downloads, just click on it to open it, and then run. And then we're going to do the first little install here. So next. It chooses your home directory right there. Next. Most of this you can just go right on through. Next. Choose a mirror to download from, and then click next. And now it'll start doing the initial setup. So the initial stuff that you need, the initial libraries that it requires to run. Okay. And now here's where I got some new ideas on how to install Cygwin faster. Now typically the old way, if you wanted to install new packages, new tools in Cygwin, you'd have to rerun what we just ran right here and go to this screen, and you can actually use this screen to search for tools. And so you just sit there and choose that one, and now it would install it. And so this was the package manager. So to try to find stuff in here was rather tedious. And so I have a way of skipping that and doing it a much faster way now. So now here we can just skip this and click next. And click next. And let it download the default stuff and get it set up. Okay, now we click create an icon on the desktop. So just click finish and let that finish up. And so now if we go over here, I should have a Cygwin icon on my desktop. So just click on that and open it just to make sure it's working. And it is. And that's another thing with Cygwin. At least for me, I get this horrible prompt. And so what I typically do is I come in here and I can right click on here and go to options and text, select, and just change the font because whatever it chooses for me, my default is horrible for some reason. Yours may not be, I don't know. Let me fix that. And click apply and save. So now I can actually read it. Okay, at this point we just need to close it because there's a bunch of tools that we need to install on Cygwin, and there's actually a nice cheat way to do it. I shouldn't say cheat. It's actually a nice command line way to do it. So you don't have to go through the typical package management tool that comes with Cygwin, which is kind of a pain to use if you're trying to install 20 things. And we need to install 20 things so that we can talk to the Intel Edison. Well, it needs tools to flash it. So you can come down here and, you need to open up your DOS command prompt. And I guess I should do this for you. So you can click on here and you can search for command, CMD, and that should find your old DOS command prompt. And now here's what you need to do. And I'll post this in the show notes because what you can do is you can use the %, home path, %, which just brings you to your home directory, which is actually kind of where we are right now, but I just do this just so it works on everyone's machine. Because I have Patman in my address and you have whatever your username is. But that home path accounts for that. And then we go to downloads because we just downloaded the setup file. And then we go to setup -x86, and I should be able to push the tab button to tab complete it. Maybe. Or not. Anyway, let me just do that. Downloads, make sure it's setup -x86_64.exe. We're just referring to that setup file we downloaded before. So you just need to find out where that is, and that should be there. You need a -Q-P, and then now here you can list out the files you want to install in Cygwin. So if I wanted to install zip, I could say zip. If I wanted to do wget, I could do a comma wget. And so you can fill all these out. I already have a nice copy and paste because there's a bunch of tools you need to install. Let me copy over here. See, there's a bunch. And I'll go through them real quick. So here, I'll scroll through. You have autoconf, autoconf 2.1, autoconf 2.5, automake, automake 1.15, bzipped, crypt, curl, dfu-utilities, gcc-core, gcc-fortran, gcc-g++, get completion, less, libusb 1.0. That's a very important one for this. Let's see. libusb 1.0 development, devel, links, make, nano, incurses, OpenSSH, Perl, package config, ping, Python, rsync, run, screen, tree, unzip, vim, vim-common, wget, and zip. Now that's actually more than you need, but if you're going to do a lot of Linux, those are some other tools you're probably going to need in the future, so you might as well install them now. You can see how many there are, so you probably want to go to my show notes and copy and paste. Or if you go to whiteboardcoder.com, I did do a post on this, so you can probably find the post concerning installing Ubilinux, and you can probably just cut and paste from there. But at any rate, you get all this in there, you just hit return, and hopefully I did it right. And so now you can see Cygwin pops up, and it's actually installing all those libraries for us, automatically for us, so we don't have to go use the package manager and pick every single one. So I'll let it run right now, which may take a while, but I'll speed up the film here. Okay, there we go. We're done. You can see it says ending Cygwin install down there. And you just click enter, and so this part's done. The next part, installing is going to be installing the Edison USB drivers. Okay, head over to the Edison download site at Intel, and here is the URL. And then just scroll down a little bit, and down here you should see the drivers software. And there's the Windows standalone driver 1.2.1, I guess, the current version. Just click on that to download it. Simple as that. And then once it's downloaded, now just click on it to open it up and install it. So click Run, Next, Agree to the license, Next, Install, and let it install away. It does have a few prompts here. In my case, you can always trust software from Intel if you want to. If you don't, you have to go through about... well, I won't, just as an example here, because it has about 4 pop-ups if you don't want to trust them. I mean, you still have to trust them on that one install, but... So I'll click Install. Another pop-up, click Install. Another pop-up, click Install. Another pop-up, click Install. Okay, there we go. We've installed the USB driver successfully. Click OK, click Finished, and that part's done. So next, I need to install a tool called dfu-utilities. Now, before I get too far, I want to prove that I actually have Yocto Linux installed on this Intel Edison. So what I'm going to do is I have this SparkFun board, so I'll just attach them up. There we go. Think about it backwards, so get them snap together so we're all good to go. And then we'll just plug it in to the, I think it's the, I don't know if you can read it right there. There's a site that says OTG on it. Let me see. Now, one peculiar thing about Yocto is they have it set up, in this case, that it actually can act as a USB drive. So after I plug this in a minute, I should see another drive pop up. Ubilinux does not have that. I don't know if you can do it on Ubilinux or not. I'm sure someone could hack something together, but right now it does not. There we go. So you can see there's my Edison drive, just to show you that I do have Yocto installed on here at the moment. So now we want to install dfu-utilities. So what we'll do is we'll open up Cygwin again. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a git clone. We're going to clone a repository. And we'll do git, let's see, git.co.sf.net/p dfu-util to clone this repository down. Now, I'll put that in the show notes, so you can grab it again. And so this will pull down this tool, and we can cd into it. There we go. And then we have to auto-generate some code. So run this command. Okay, now that's done. Run this command, configure. Oh, and if you're like me, I have an antivirus installed, and sometimes the antivirus can get confused by Cygwin until you've used it a few times. So it's seeing that a Perl program's running, and actually that's fine in my case. So I can go down here and allow it. Now your software may be a little different. Let's see, I think that should be fine. There we go. So if your virus software catches something Cygwin's running, it should be fine. Okay, so I just ran configure. Now we run make. And finally, make install. Okay, we can do one quick test to make sure it's okay. Install correctly. dfu-util -L, and that should give us something. Okay, that gave us what we wanted. Okay, so now that's installed, so the next step is actually downloading and installing Ubilinux. Here's the home page for the Ubilinux. It's made by the Emutex Labs guys, and they're kind of the ones who built it and manage it. Now, you can go to this web page, and what you want to do is you can right-click on Ubilinux for Intel Edison and copy the link address, because they may update it. They've already updated it once last year. They may update it again, so you kind of want to probably get the latest copy. And then what you want to do with that is I'll enter CD, which will bring me back to my home directory. And I'll make a new directory, and I'll call it Ubilinux, just to separate it, and go CD, Ubilinux. And then I'll use wget, which is a tool, kind of like webget. And then I'll enter that address in here. And so here's the entire address. Now, interesting to note is actually the name here, the -150309, is actually the date they built this. So 2015, March 9th. So you can see how recent the build is. And hit enter and download it. Now, downloading may take a while because it's actually from their site. So it may take 10 minutes. It may take 20 minutes. So, click it and walk away because it's not the fastest download, but it works. Okay, we finally got that all downloaded. So now I want to untar it. So I can do tar-xvf and do tab completion and untar all that fun stuff. And then, let's see, we got to do, now we got to unplug the Edison. And then it's still untarring. Oh, that's fine. Okay, so we have everything's untarred, so now we can go CD to flash, go into that directory, and then we can run this flash all program. So you want to run this guy, and as you run it, it'll eventually tell you to plug this in at some point. Okay, there it is really quickly. And now on this, there's a console and an OTG. You want to plug it into the OTG. There we go. Probably get a few beeps as it recognizes it. And you just kind of let it sit there, and it'll eventually figure out it's there and install everything. It'll flash the drive on there and install this stuff. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Finally, it took a while, but now it's all installed, and now they say kind of leave it plugged in for a couple minutes. So maybe set a stopwatch or walk away for a few minutes and let it make sure it's finished. The next thing we need to do is actually install Picocom. So we'll go on to that step. Okay, at this point, you need to download a tool to talk to the Edison via the console, and the tool that I'm using to do that is called Picocom. So we can CD back into our base directory here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this wget. That'll download the Picocom tool. And there's a link for that. And then once I have it, I want to untar it. XVF Pico. Oh, sorry, 2.1. And then CD into that directory. Now in here, there should be a Picocom. Oh wait, I gotta make it, sorry. Make it. And then there should be an executable file in here. There we are, picocom.exe. Now I could just run it right here, but I have a feeling I may need it again in the future. So I am going to make a directory and move it to it. So I'll make a user local Picocom, and I'll copy picocom.exe to user local Picocom, and then I'll make a symlink SF, just so it's easier to access the tool again. user local Picocom, picocom.exe, and user bin Picocom. There we go. Now if I run which Picocom, I should see there's a tool. Now at this point, you want to unplug your Intel Edison because we actually have to plug it into the console. But before we do, well, let me show that. There's should be two connections here. There's an OTG and there is a console. We want to plug into the console, but don't do it quite yet because there's actually this nice little tool in here. I can go ls-alh dev tt star. And what you'll see in here is you'll see just this TTY file. And that kind of indicates there's nothing connected that we can talk to via the console. Now, I'm not a console expert, so there's probably some other cool stuff going on there. But anyway, we can check that. So now we take this guy and we plug into the console. And there we are. And give it a second. But we can rerun this command and something else should show up. And now I see this TTY S17. Now yours may be different. Yours may be S9 or S8 or something else. On mine it showed up as S17. And you need to make note of that number because you need that number to actually log in. So what we can do now, we have Picocom. I can say Pico, I can say Picocom -B115200. That's the baud rate, I guess. I can say dev TTY S17. And so that says go log into this guy via the console. Hit enter. And now you can see all this information comes up and you hit enter again. And now we see the Ubilinux login screen. Now the default should be root as the user. And the password should be Edison is the default. And let that go. And we are actually in the Intel Edison now. Now there's a few more things we want to do, but we're in the Edison. I can run simple commands. I'm in Ubilinux, which is I think they use Ubilinux because it's similar to Ubuntu. It's off the same Debian branch. So anyway, but now before we dive into the next thing, how do you get out of this? If you're in the console, to get out of this, you can type in exit, and that gets you out back to this login screen where you're still in Picocom. And to get out of Picocom, you do Control-AX at the same time, and that gets you out of Picocom. It's a good thing to know. Okay, so we have Ubilinux, and we actually got into it. Now, the next thing I want to do is actually get connected to my Wi-Fi network so that I can use SSH to log in versus using this Picocom tool. Okay, we're into the home stretch now. So let's go log back in, run that command, hit enter again, log in as root, and with password Edison. And now what I want to do is I need to go change the settings in here so I can actually log into my Wi-Fi network. And so we're going to use a tool called Nano. Usually I use Vi, and if you're a Vi guy, go nuts. But I'm using Nano because it's a simpler text editor, and it might be simpler for people who aren't aware how Vi and other things work. So just type in Nano, and then we're actually open up this file, network interfaces, and just hit enter. And now this is the file we need to change to actually log into our screen. So we'll go down a few lines, and what we need to do, look at my notes here. Now there's this auto USB that we just do not want to use anymore. And so we want to put a pound symbol in there. And the pound is a comment line that says, this line is no longer valid, comment it out. And so we don't want that one. So we comment that out. But what we want to do is we want this WLAN 0 to count now. It's commented out, so let's remove that. So now it's actually going to use this setting, the audio WLAN. And so what this does, if we go down here, and typically, unless you got some weird setup, you're going to do a WPA setup. And so here they have Immutex Labs and passphrase. Immutex Labs would be the name of your Wi-Fi network. So I'll give an example here. It's not my real example, but if I had, if my Wi-Fi network was called Darth Vader, I would type in Darth Vader right here. So type in the name of your Wi-Fi network right there, and then right here type in the password. So if your Wi-Fi network was, down with rebels, That's all you do. And so you would type your information here, and then you would save it. And then we would do there's a few more steps. There's a few more things we have to do to restart this servers. That's basically all you got to do. So I'm actually going to skip over part of the video. Well, I'm going to put in my real password here, but I'm not going to record that, obviously. And then I'll save it. So wait, to save it, you can see the commands down here. All those caret signs there are controls. So Control X to exit. So Control X, and then type in Y for yes. And there you go. Now you've exited and you've actually saved that file. Now I'm going to go back and actually change it to my actual real password here. Okay, now that we have our password set up for our Wi-Fi. Now that we have our Wi-Fi network, it should be easy enough we have to restart that service. So we'd say service, networking, stop, kind of brings everything down, and then start. Oh, and if you don't know, if you're not used to Linux, if you press the up button, it'll go through your command history. So I kind of use that to go get that start command, the stop command, and just rewrote start. So now run that, and hopefully we have it set up. So now it should try to connect to your network. And hopefully I entered in the correct password for my network. Okay, maybe I didn't. Let me see. So now I can do to test it, I can do ifconfig -a, and I can do a grep WLAN 0, yeah, a lot of fun, -a1. I know it's a lot to take in if you're not used to Linux, but I hit enter, and okay, I didn't put in my right password. So let me pause right now, and I'll go put in my correct password. Okay, it helps to actually put in the right password, so I fixed that. So now I can go stop it again, and start it again. And now it should actually find it. There we go. See that renewal in so many seconds? That's what you should probably have. And also you can see that bound to number, bound to 192.168.0.9. That's the IP address that the Intel Edison now has. Now I can run this command to check that again, this ifconfig. And what you'll see down here is you'll see this INET address, 192.168.0.9. Chances are yours is different. And that's the actual internet address on my internal network. So now that I have that, I can do a couple of things. Now this is connected to the internet through my Wi-Fi network, and it's also just connected to my network. So I can prove that I can get out to the world on my Intel Edison, and I can do a ping www.google.com, and now it should ping the Google servers. And I can see I'm getting feedback. So good, it's working. So I can actually, it's connected to the internet. So now that I've done that and proved that out, now I can come down here and I can open another Cygwin prompt. So now this prompt is on my Intel Edison. This prompt is just on my computer right now. And so I can do ping 192.168.0.9. You know, put the address, your address in here, not my address. And I should be able to ping the Intel Edison. And so it's pinging. So I can hit it just fine. Now what I can do is, hopefully for the last time, I can get out of this Picocom. So I hit exit. And I'll do Control AX, right? Yeah. So now I'm out of Picocom. I'm not connected. But now what I can do, doesn't matter what screen I do it on, I can use Secure Shell. So I can do SSH root at 192.168.0.9. And so that's trying to secure shell into the Intel Edison. And it should work. So I'll type in yes. And just ask for my root password, Edison. And now I'm in. And so now I can exit, get out of here again. And the next time I try this, it should be aware of it. And now it shouldn't ask me for that yes again. It's just the password. There we go. So now, there I am. I'm logged in. So now I no longer need that Picocom. And as long as this is plugged in, it doesn't need to be plugged into the USB. It just needs power. So SparkFun sells battery packs or other things. So if I put a battery pack on this and just let it, lay around, as long as it's still connected to my Wi-Fi network, I can still connect to it. Now, one word of warning, this address, 192.168.0.9, it potentially could change because right now it's set up to do DHCP, which basically tells your router, give me an address. I don't care what it is, just give me one. And your router goes, okay, I'll just give you one of the available ones. Here you go. Now, my router, and most of ours nowadays, once you get one, it kind of tries to keep the same one, or it just remembers. And so chances are it's not going to change. Mine don't change for months and months and years sometimes. But it could potentially change. There are ways to hard code that, which I'm not going to go over in here. I just want to warn you just in case all of a sudden you see it disappear. And if it does disappear, you can plug it into the USB console and get back into it again. Okay, so that leaves most of this done. And let me end this with an old proverb. It says, do you see a man skilled in his work? He will serve before kings. He will not serve before obscure men. So, work on your craft, hone your skills, and soon enough you'll be working someplace better. Or at least you'll make your work a better place. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a like. To subscribe, just click the subscribe button. Also, you can follow me on Twitter under the handle @whiteboardcoder.com. View any code I may have thrown up as a gist at GitHub under the username PatmanDenver, or check out my blog site at whiteboardcoder.com.